OMG, you guys, you won't believe the state of this airport. Just look at these dirty kids left sleeping all over the place. The influencer Madison whispered into her phone, pointing the camera at 3 sleeping girls. She nudged one of their worn-out backpacks with the toe of her expensive heel. Seriously, some people should just not be allowed to fly. What Madison didn't know was that the man now walking towards her with a look of cold fury wasn't just another passenger. He was Alexander Sterling, the billionaire father of the girls she was mocking and, more importantly, the primary investor in the social media platform she was currently streaming on. Madison thought she was creating viral content. She was actually live streaming the end of her own career. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get started. Is this what passes for parenting these days? These dirty kids are just sprawled out taking up space in a public airport, Madison Blake whispered dramatically into her phone camera, her perfectly manicured finger pointing at 3 sleeping teenage girls. Chicago O'Hare International Airport buzzed with frustration on that stormy December evening. Outside, snow fell in thick sheets, causing flights to be delayed or canceled. Inside, hundreds of travelers slouched in seats, scrolled through phones, or lined up for food. On a long bench near Gate B-17, 3 14-year-old black girls slept side by side. Maya, Nia, and Zara Sterling used their school backpacks as pillows. Their matching blue hoodies from their debate team championship were wrinkled after 12 hours of travel. Their flight to San Francisco had been canceled 3 hours ago. Standing a few feet away, their adoptive father, Alexander Sterling, spoke quietly on his phone. At 45, Alexander was tall with salt and pepper hair and wore an expensive gray suit that remained crisp despite the long day. "Jason, I need the jet at O'Hare as soon as possible," Alexander said to his assistant. "The girls have their debate finals tomorrow morning. We can't miss it." "Yes, sir. I'll make the arrangements right away," Jason replied. "Thank you. We'll be waiting in the executive lounge. Let me know when it's ready." Alexander ended the call and turned to check on his daughters. He frowned when he noticed they weren't where he'd left them. He scanned the crowded terminal and spotted them still sleeping on the bench. He started walking back, weaving through frustrated travelers. Meanwhile, 23-year-old Madison Blake had spotted the sleeping triplets. With 5 million followers across her social media accounts, Madison was always looking for content. She wore designer clothes, had long blonde hair, and maintained a perfect camera smile. "Oh my God, look at these dirty kids taking up space in a public airport," Madison whispered to her phone as she live-streamed. "This is why I hate traveling commercial." Her phone screen filled with comments and laughing face emojis from her followers. "LOL, they look homeless. Kick them off the bench. Do something to wake them up." Madison zoomed in on their faces without permission. I mean, where are their parents? So irresponsible. As she filmed, Madison deliberately swung her designer purse, knocking one of the girls' backpacks to the floor. "Oops," she said with fake concern, continuing to film the fallen bag. "So clumsy of me." Her followers loved it. "Ha ha ha ha! Do more! Pour your water on them! This is why you're my favorite, Madison." Across the terminal, 50-year-old Timothy Walsh, an airport security officer, noticed what was happening. He frowned, watching the young woman filming the sleeping teenagers. He should intervene, but he hesitated, wondering if he was overreacting. "Should I say something?" he muttered to himself, taking a step forward. Also watching the scene was 35-year-old Rebecca Chen, a technology journalist for The Washington Post. She recognized the sleeping girls immediately and pulled out her own phone, discreetly starting to record. "That's Alexander Sterling's daughters," she whispered to herself. "This won't end well." On the bench, Zara Sterling, the most sensitive triplet, stirred first. She opened her eyes slowly, confused by the bright light of a phone camera pointed at her face. "Maya. Nia?" she said softly, nudging her sisters. "Someone's filming us." Maya sat up first, blinking sleep from her eyes. Nia followed, immediately alert when she saw Madison standing there with her phone. "What are you doing?" Nia asked, her voice sharp. "Did you kick our bag?" Madison ignored her, continuing to narrate to her followers. "And now they're awake. Look at their attitudes already." "I asked you a question," Nia said, louder this time. She stood up, her posture defensive. "Why are you filming us?" Maya picked up her fallen backpack, checking to make sure nothing was broken. "Calm down, sweetie," Madison said condescendingly, still broadcasting. "Public space means I can film whatever I want." Zara stayed seated, her eyes filling with tears. "Please stop," she said quietly. Madison laughed. "Maybe I should pour my water on them to freshen them up." "What do you guys think?" she asked her followers, who responded with enthusiastic agreement. Timothy Walsh finally decided to approach, but before he could reach them, Alexander Sterling returned. Alexander stood silently behind Madison for several seconds, taking in the scene. His face remained expressionless, but his eyes hardened as he watched the young woman mock his daughters to her audience. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm but cold. Madison turned, visibly annoyed at the interruption. "I'm in the middle of something here," she snapped without looking up. "I believe you're filming my daughters without their permission," Alexander continued in the same measured tone. Madison glanced up, ready to dismiss whoever was interrupting her live stream. The words died in her throat as she recognized one of the most famous faces in the technology world. "Are you aware they are minors?" Alexander asked, his gaze unwavering. Madison lowered her phone slightly, suddenly uncertain. "I'm just making content for my followers. It's not a big deal." By now, other travelers had noticed the confrontation. Some pulled out their own phones, recognizing the famous tech billionaire. "Dad," Maya said, standing beside her sisters. "Our backpack was on the floor." She kicked it. Alexander nodded once, his eyes never leaving Madison. "And you thought it appropriate to broadcast my sleeping children to your followers, make derogatory comments about them, and then physically disturb their belongings?" Madison's confident smile faltered. Her live stream continued to record everything, her followers now sending different types of messages. "OMG, is that Alexander Sterling? She's in trouble now." R.I.P. Madison's career. Timothy Walsh finally reached the group. "Sir, ma'am, is there a problem here?" he asked professionally. "Yes," Alexander replied. "This young woman was filming my minor children without consent and broadcasting it to her followers, along with encouraging harassment." Rebecca Chen moved closer, still recording. "Mr. Sterling," she called out. "Rebecca Chen, Washington Post. This isn't an isolated incident. Ms. Blake has a history of targeting vulnerable individuals for content." Madison's face paled. "That's not true. I was just entertaining your followers by humiliating 3 sleeping 14-year-old girls," Alexander finished for her. "I'd like to know exactly what platform you're streaming on." "Social stream," Madison replied automatically, her voice small. "Interesting," Alexander said. "Are you familiar with TechVision, Social Stream's parent company?" Madison nodded slowly, a sinking feeling growing in her stomach. "I own 40% of TechVision," Alexander stated. He turned to his daughters, his expression softening. "Are you 3 all right?" Nia nodded firmly. Maya gave a small shrug. Zara wiped away a tear but managed a weak smile for her father. "Jason," Alexander said, turning to his assistant who had appeared beside him, "please get me the details of Miss Blake's contract with Social Stream." Madison's phone suddenly chimed with a notification. Her face went white as she read the message from Social Stream's executive team. Around them, the airport continued its chaotic pace, but in this small circle, time seemed to stand still as Madison Blake realized her entire career hung in the balance. Madison stared at her phone notification, her hand trembling slightly. The message from Social Stream's executive team glowed on her screen. "Urgent. Content violation detected. Management review in progress. Those are my daughters you're mocking, Alexander stated firmly. His voice remained quiet, but everyone nearby could hear the steel beneath his words. People around the terminal began to recognize the famous tech CEO. Whispers spread through the crowd. That's Alexander Sterling, the guy who owns Sterling Technologies. Isn't he worth billions? Madison's confident expression crumbled as recognition dawned. Her live stream continued broadcasting, capturing her growing panic as her followers flooded the comments. OMG, that's Alexander Sterling. She's dead. Rip Madison's career. Mr. Sterling, I'm such a huge fan. Madison attempted to smile, her voice suddenly high and nervous. I was just entertaining my followers during the delay. It was just a joke. Alexander's expression remained unchanged. A joke at the expense of 3 minors whose faces you broadcast without consent. He gestured toward his daughters. Is humiliating children your standard form of entertainment? Madison took a small step backward. I didn't mean any harm. People love my airport content. I'm curious. Do you know who owns Social Stream? Alexander asked, his tone conversational despite the tension. Madison swallowed hard. The parent company is TechVision, I think. And I own 40% of TechVision, Alexander replied. The color drained from Madison's face. Her followers watched in real time as her perfectly curated world began to collapse. Behind Alexander, the 3 girls stood close together. Maya picked up their backpack from the floor, carefully checking its contents. Zara wiped tears from her eyes with her sleeve. Nia stared defiantly at Madison, her arms crossed. Timothy Walsh stepped forward, officially introducing himself. Mr. Sterling, I'm Officer Timothy Walsh, Airport Security. I noticed the situation developing and was coming to intervene. He turned to Madison. Ma'am, filming minors without guardian consent violates airport policies. Thank you, Officer Walsh. Alexander nodded. I appreciate your attention to this matter. The crowd of onlookers had grown larger. Many held up phones recording the confrontation. A murmur of disapproval toward Madison rippled through the gathering. I'll delete the video right now, Madison said quickly, fingers moving to end her live stream. That won't be necessary, Alexander replied. The content has already been flagged in the system. Rebecca Chen stepped closer, her press credentials visible around her neck. Mr. Sterling, Rebecca Chen from the Washington Post. She glanced at Madison. This isn't the first time Ms. Blake has targeted minors for content. Madison's head snapped up. That's not true. Last month, you filmed children at Boston Children's Hospital who were undergoing cancer treatment, Rebecca continued calmly. You called their appearance nightmare fuel and suggested your followers would need therapy after seeing them. Gasps came from the crowd of travelers. A woman nearby covered her mouth in shock. That was taken out of context, Madison protested weakly. I have the archived footage, Rebecca replied, holding up her phone, along with statements from 3 families affected by your content. Madison looked frantically around, seeking sympathy, but finding none. Even her loyal followers were turning against her in the livestream comments. Did she really mock cancer kids? I'm unfollowing right now. This is disgusting. Dad? Zara's soft voice broke through the tension. Can we go somewhere quiet? Alexander immediately turned his attention to his daughters. Of course, sweetheart. He placed a gentle hand on Zara's shoulder. I'm fine, Nia insisted, though her voice wavered slightly. I want to see what happens. Maya nodded in agreement. We should stay. This affects us too. Alexander studied their faces carefully, then nodded. All right, but tell me if it becomes too much. He turned back to Madison, whose live stream continued capturing every moment of her downfall. Ms. Blake, Alexander said with finality, your behavior represents everything wrong with influencer culture, using vulnerable people as props for engagement. His assistant Jason appeared at his side, tablet in hand. Jason, Alexander said without taking his eyes off Madison, get me the details of Ms. Blake's contract with SocialStream. Already pulled them up, sir, Jason replied, handing over the tablet. Section 7 covers conduct violations, specifically targeting of minors. Alexander scanned the document, then looked up at Madison. Did you read your contract before signing it, Ms. Blake? Madison shifted uncomfortably. My manager handles those details. Section 7, paragraph 3 states that filming minors without consent is grounds for immediate termination, with all pending payments forfeited. Alexander handed the tablet back to Jason. Additionally, SocialStream reserves the right to delete all content and revoke platform access. You can't do that! Madison's voice rose in panic. I have 5 million followers. My sponsors will... Your sponsors will what? Rebecca Chen interrupted. Stand behind someone who mocks children with cancer? Films minors without consent? I'm quite interested to hear what your sponsors think about this incident. She held up her phone, still recording. Madison's phone chimed again. Her eyes widened in horror as she read the new message. Miss Blake, Alexander said, his voice now softer but no less firm. Your contract with SocialStream is terminated, effective immediately. My legal team will contact you regarding the unauthorized filming of my children. As if on cue, Madison's phone screen went black. She tapped frantically at it, but nothing happened. What's happening? She demanded, panic rising in her voice. What did you do? I didn't do anything, Alexander replied. But it appears the SocialStream executives have acted on the contract violation. Timothy Walsh stepped forward again. Ms. Blake, I'll need you to come with me to complete an incident report regarding the unauthorized filming. Madison looked around desperately, seeking an escape route but finding none. The crowd of travelers had formed a loose circle around the confrontation, many still recording with their phones. This isn't fair, Madison whispered, her carefully constructed persona crumbling completely. It was just content. They were just children, Alexander corrected. My children. Madison allowed Officer Walsh to escort her away, her shoulders slumped in defeat. As they walked, people in the terminal began to applaud Alexander's handling of the situation. Alexander turned to his daughters, his stern expression softening immediately. Are you three all right? I'm fine, Maya said practically, zipping up their backpack. I'm angry, Nia admitted, but satisfied with how this ended. Zara simply nodded, leaning against her father's side. Alexander put his arm around Zara's shoulders. Jason, what's the status on our transportation? The jet will be ready in approximately 1 hour, sir, Jason replied. I've arranged for you to wait in the executive lounge until then. Alexander nodded. Thank you. He turned to Rebecca Chen, who was finishing her recording. Ms. Chen, I assume this will be in tomorrow's paper? Online within the hour, print tomorrow, Rebecca confirmed. Would you care to make a statement about what happened here tonight? Before Alexander could answer, his phone buzzed with an incoming call. The screen displayed, SocialStream CEO, urgent. Alexander looked at his buzzing phone, then raised one finger to Rebecca Chen. Excuse me, I need to take this call. He stepped a few feet away, keeping his daughters in sight as he answered. Michael, I was expecting your call. Alex, what's happening at O'Hare? Michael Davis, CEO of SocialStream, sounded worried. Our system flagged an emergency content removal involving Madison Blake targeting minors. Then I get alerts that you're directly involved? My daughters were the targets, Alexander explained calmly. Ms. Blake was filming them without consent while they slept, making derogatory comments and encouraging her followers to suggest ways to harass them. Silence filled the line for a moment. I'm incredibly sorry, Alex. We've already suspended her account pending review, but given what you're telling me, the situation is clear, Alexander stated. Per Section 7 of her contract, I want her account permanently terminated. Now, consider it done, Michael replied immediately. I'll handle it personally. Alexander ended the call and rejoined his daughters and the waiting journalist. Ms. Chen, he said, I appreciate your interest in this story, but my priority right now is my daughter's well-being. No statement at this time. Rebecca nodded professionally. "I understand completely. Here's my card if you change your mind." As they spoke, the crowd around them began to disperse, many people still talking about what they had witnessed. Some approached to express support for the Sterling family. "Girls," Alexander turned to his daughters, "the private jet will be ready in about an hour. Let's head to the executive lounge where it's quieter." As they walked through the terminal, Zara stayed close to her father while Maya and Nia walked slightly ahead. "Dad, look," Maya said, holding up her phone. "It's already on Twitter." Alexander glanced at the screen. Someone had posted a video of the confrontation with the hashtag Madison Blake Exposed already trending. "That was fast," he remarked, guiding them toward the elevator to the private lounge. "Good," Nia said firmly. "People should know what she did." Meanwhile, in a small office in the airport security area, Madison sat across from Timothy Walsh, staring at her dead phone. "I need to charge my phone," she insisted, her voice shaking. "This is my career we're talking about." Officer Walsh pushed a form across the desk. "Please fill this out first. We need to document the unauthorized filming of minors." Madison's hands trembled as she tried to write, "This isn't fair. Other people film in airports all the time." Not minors without consent," Officer Walsh replied evenly. "Especially not to mock them." Madison's eyes welled with tears. "You don't understand. My followers expect daily content. My sponsors require minimum posting schedules. I need to fix this now." An airport manager knocked and entered the room. "Ms. Blake, your manager Brian Porter is on our office line. He says it's urgent." Madison grabbed the phone. "Brian, everything is falling apart. Sterling Technologies got me banned from Social Stream. My phone isn't working. You need to fix this." "Madison, slow down." Brian's voice was tense. "I'm already getting calls from sponsors." "What exactly happened?" "I was just making airport content. How was I supposed to know they were Alexander Sterling's kids?" Madison's voice rose hysterically. "Alexander Sterling? The Alexander Sterling?" Brian sounded horrified. "Madison, tell me you didn't target his children on a live stream." "It wasn't like that. I didn't know who they were." "That makes it worse. You filmed random minors without consent?" Brian paused. "All 7 sponsors have been calling me. Beauty Bliss is already drafting a statement terminating your contract." Madison's face went pale. "They can't do that. We have a 6-month agreement." "With a morality clause that you just violated in the most public way possible," Brian said flatly. In the executive lounge, the Sterling family settled into comfortable chairs. Alexander ordered food for his daughters, noticing how tired they looked. "I'm calling Miss Peterson," he said, referring to their debate coach. "She needs to know we might not make it back for tomorrow's competition." Maya frowned. "But Dad, it's the state finals. We've been preparing for months." "I know, sweetheart," Alexander replied, dialing the number. "But sometimes unexpected things happen." While their father spoke on the phone, the triplets huddled together, processing what had happened. "I can't believe she kicked our backpack," Maya said, scrolling through social media. "Look, there are already 15,000 tweets about this." Nia's eyes flashed with anger. "People like her think they can do anything for views. It's disgusting." "I felt so embarrassed," Zara admitted quietly. "All those people watching us while we were sleeping." Nia put her arm around Zara's shoulders. "You have nothing to be embarrassed about. She's the one who should be ashamed." Alexander finished his call and joined his daughters. "Ms. Peterson sends her love. She says the team will understand if we can't make it back in time." "What did you decide, Dad?" Maya asked. "I think we should stay in Chicago tonight," he replied. "The storm is still bad and you 3 need proper rest." "But the competition," Nia began to protest. "Is important," Alexander finished, "but not more important than your well-being." Rebecca Chen's first article about the incident went live 30 minutes later. Alexander's phone immediately began buzzing with notifications as the story spread rapidly across news sites. The Washington Post already published a story, Maya reported, reading from her phone. Tech CEO Alexander Sterling confronts social media influencer for harassing his daughters. Alexander nodded. It was bound to happen. This will be a big story for a few days. Why? Zara asked. It's just us. Because it touches on important issues, Alexander explained. Privacy, social media ethics, how influencers behave, and also because, he hesitated. Because you're famous and rich, Nia finished bluntly. That too, Alexander admitted with a small smile. Jason approached with news. Sir, I've arranged suites at the Hilton O'Hare. The car is waiting whenever you're ready. Thank you, Jason. Alexander stood. Girls, let's go get some rest. At the hotel, Alexander checked them into a large family suite. The triplets immediately claimed the bedroom with 3 double beds while Alexander took the adjoining room. Alone for a moment, Alexander called his company's legal department. Susan, it's Alexander. I need a team to review all privacy protection laws regarding minors on social media platforms. Yes, it's about what happened today. I want a comprehensive brief on my desk when I return. After ending the call, he joined his daughters. Maya was researching privacy laws on her tablet. Nia was texting furiously with their debate teammates. Zara sat quietly by the window, watching the snow fall. How are you really doing? Alexander asked, sitting beside Zara. It felt awful, she admitted, her voice small. Like I wasn't even a person to her. Just something to use. Alexander took his daughter's hand. I'm sorry that happened to you. No one deserves to be treated that way. Why do people like her get so famous? Zara asked. All she does is be mean. Alexander sighed. That's a complicated question, but what happened today shows that actions have consequences. Maya looked up from her tablet. Dad, according to this, what she did violated laws in 14 states, including Illinois. Could we press charges? Nia asked eagerly. We could, Alexander acknowledged, but I'm not sure that's necessary. The termination of her contract and social platform access is significant punishment already. A notification appeared on all their phones simultaneously. It was a breaking news alert. Influencer Madison Blake dropped by major sponsors following airport incident. That was fast, Maya observed. Social media moves quickly, Alexander replied, both the rise and the fall. As they prepared for bed, exhausted from the long day, Alexander received another call from Rebecca Chen. Mr. Sterling, I apologize for calling so late. I'm working on a follow-up story about influencer accountability. Would you and your daughters consider an exclusive interview? Alexander watched his daughters getting ready for bed, their faces still showing signs of the day's stress. Ms. Chen, I appreciate your interest, but my answer remains the same. My daughter's privacy and well-being come first. I understand, Rebecca replied. Just know the offer stands if you change your mind. After ending the call, Alexander joined his daughters to say goodnight. Try to get some sleep, he said, kissing each of them on the forehead. Tomorrow will be a better day. As the girls settled into their beds, Alexander's phone lit up with a text message from an unknown number. Mr. Sterling, this is Madison Blake. Please, I need to talk to you. Alexander stared at his phone screen for a long moment. The message from Madison Blake was unexpected. He set the phone down without replying and walked to the window of the hotel suite. Outside, snow continued to fall over Chicago, the airport lights glowing in the distance. Morning arrived with bright sunlight reflecting off fresh snow. Alexander woke early and immediately checked the news on his tablet. The incident at O'Hare Airport dominated every major news site. Sterling Tech CEO confronts influencer for mocking his daughters. Madison Blake faces backlash after targeting minors. Social media star loses all sponsors after airport incident. Alexander sighed and ordered breakfast for the family from room service. As the triplets slowly woke up, they too reached for their phones. "Dad?" Maya called from the bedroom. "Rebecca Chen's video has 12 million views already." Alexander walked to the doorway. "Good morning to you too," he said with a small smile. Nia sat up in bed, her hair wrapped in a silk scarf. The hashtag Madison is over party is trending #1 worldwide. "All my friends from school are texting me," Zara said quietly, looking at her phone. "Everyone's seen the videos." A knock at the door announced breakfast. As they gathered around the table to eat, the local morning news played on the television. Our top story this morning: social media influencer Madison Blake has lost all 7 of her major sponsorship deals following an incident at O'Hare International Airport yesterday, the anchor reported. Blake was caught on video mocking 3 sleeping teenagers who turned out to be the daughters of tech billionaire Alexander Sterling. Maya turned up the volume as the story continued. Beauty Bliss, Fashion Now, and 5 other companies have terminated their contracts with Blake, citing violation of morality clauses, the reporter continued. Blake's talent agency, Apex Influencer Management, has also released a statement cutting ties with her. The screen showed Madison's most recent apology post. "I deeply regret my actions at O'Hare Airport. I never intended to hurt anyone and am taking time to reflect on my behavior." "That doesn't sound very sincere," Nia commented, taking a bite of toast. "It was probably written by her manager," Maya replied. Alexander turned down the volume. "How are you 3 feeling this morning?" The girls exchanged glances. "I've been analyzing the comments on the videos," Maya said. 97% of people are supporting us. It's fascinating to see how quickly public opinion turned against her. "I'm getting messages from kids at other schools who've been bullied by influencers," Nia added. "They're asking me to speak up about it." "I just want everything to go back to normal," Zara admitted. "I'm worried about going back to school with all this attention." Alexander nodded. "That's all understandable. We can't control the story now that it's out there, but we can control how we respond to it." His phone rang. It was Jason with updates about their travel plans. "Good news," Alexander told his daughters after ending the call. "The storm has cleared enough for us to fly home. We can leave in 2 hours." "What about the debate competition?" Maya asked. "I spoke with Ms. Peterson again this morning. She's arranged for you to join remotely via video call for the first round." "Yes," Nia pumped her fist. "We can still compete." While the girls packed their bags, Alexander's phone buzzed with another call. It was Michael Davis from SocialStream again. "Alex, I wanted to update you personally," Michael said when Alexander answered. "We've completed our review of Madison Blake's past content. This wasn't an isolated incident." "I'm not surprised," Alexander replied. "We've found at least 20 videos where she targeted vulnerable people, including minors. We're implementing new platform-wide protections because of this. I want to thank you for bringing this to our attention." After ending the call, Alexander noticed another text from Madison Blake. "Please, Mr. Sterling, just 5 minutes. I need to apologize properly." Alexander still didn't reply. At that same moment, Madison Blake sat alone in her hotel room, surrounded by open takeout containers and wadded tissues. Her eyes were puffy from crying, her normally perfect hair tangled and unwashed. Her phone continuously buzzed with notifications. "They're all leaving," she told her manager Brian over the phone. "Every sponsor has dropped me. My followers are unfollowing by the thousands every hour." "I told you to stay away from controversial content," Brian said, his voice cold. "Targeting vulnerable people was your idea, not mine." "You never complained when those videos brought in millions of views," Madison shot back. "You were happy to take your 20% then. Check your email, Madison. The agency is terminating your contract. You're on your own." The line went dead. Madison threw her phone onto the bed and sobbed. Everything she had built over 4 years was collapsing in less than 24 hours. Back at the Hilton, the Sterling family prepared to leave for the airport. As they walked through the lobby, people stared and whispered. A hotel employee approached them. "Mr. Sterling, We've arranged for you to exit through our service area to avoid the press outside, he said quietly. There's press outside? Alexander asked, surprised. Yes, sir. At least a dozen reporters. Alexander looked at his daughters. What do you think? Should we go out the back way? I'm not hiding, Nia said firmly. We didn't do anything wrong. Maya nodded in agreement. Running away would just make this a bigger story. Zara hesitated, then said, I agree with them, Dad. Alexander smiled proudly. Front door it is, then. As they walked outside, camera flashes greeted them. Reporters called out questions. Mr. Sterling, will you be pressing charges against Madison Blake? Girls, how do you feel about what happened yesterday? Alexander, is this why Sterling Technologies is developing new privacy tools? Alexander guided his daughters to their waiting car without responding to any questions. Once inside, Zara exhaled deeply. That was intense, she said. You handled it perfectly, Alexander assured them as the car pulled away. On the private jet back to San Francisco, Maya continued her research on privacy laws. Nia drafted messages to the students who had reached out to her about bullying. Zara quietly sketched in her notebook, processing her feelings through art. Alexander watched his daughters with pride, then opened his laptop to send an email to his product development team. Need to accelerate the privacy protection tools we discussed last quarter. Focus on minor protection features. Priority level, highest. Meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. The jet landed in San Francisco just before noon. As they drove home, Alexander's phone rang. It was Rebecca Chen again. Mr. Sterling, I hope I'm not disturbing you, she began. We've just landed in San Francisco, Ms. Chen. I understand you're busy, but I wanted to let you know I'm working on a series about social media exploitation. Your incident with Madison Blake is just the tip of the iceberg. I found numerous cases of influencers targeting vulnerable people for content. Alexander's interest was piqued. That sounds like important work. Would you and your daughters consider being part of this series? Your perspective could help create real change. Alexander glanced at his girls. Let me discuss it with my daughters. It's their experience, so it should be their decision. After hanging up, he explained Rebecca's request. I think we should do it, Nia said immediately. If it helps stop this from happening to others. I agree, Maya added. The data shows personal stories create more impact than abstract discussions. Zara? Alexander asked gently. What do you think? Zara looked up from her sketchbook. Will it help other kids who feel like I did yesterday? I believe it could, Alexander replied honestly. Then I'll do it too, she decided. When they arrived home, their housekeeper, Mrs. Rodriguez, greeted them warmly. There are flowers and gifts from everyone who saw the news, she told them. Your school principal called too. What did she say? Maya asked. That she's proud of how you girls handled yourselves, and the school will help manage any extra attention when you return on Monday. After settling in, Alexander checked his company emails. Sterling Technologies stock had risen 15% since yesterday. Several parent advocacy groups had sent messages asking him to speak about online safety for children. That evening at dinner, the family discussed how to move forward. I'm thinking about creating some new tools, Alexander told his daughters. Technology that could help protect other kids from what happened to you. Like what? Maya asked, interested. Software that could detect when minors are being filmed without consent, for starters. That's a great idea, Dad, Zara said with more enthusiasm than she'd shown all day. Alexander smiled at his youngest daughter by 2 minutes. I also received a very interesting email from the CEO of Social Stream. He wants to partner with us on new platform-wide protections. Good, Nia said firmly. All social media should have better rules. Alexander's phone chimed with a new email alert. He glanced at the screen and his expression changed. What is it, Dad? Maya asked. It's from Senator Eleanor Martinez. he replied, scanning the message. Chair of the Senate Committee on Technology Ethics. What does she want? Nia leaned forward, curious. She's inviting me to testify before Congress, Alexander said slowly, about online protections for minors. Congress? Maya's eyes widened. Like, testify in Washington, D.C.? Alexander nodded, still reading the email from Senator Martinez. She says the Committee on Technology Ethics is holding special hearings about protecting minors online. They want me to speak about what happened and how technology companies can do better. When would it be? Nia asked. 2 weeks from now, Alexander replied, scrolling through the details. They're moving quickly on this. The family sat quietly for a moment, considering the implications. Their private airport incident had somehow become national news that was now reaching the highest levels of government. Are you going to do it? Zara asked softly. Alexander set down his phone and looked at each of his daughters. I'm considering it. This could be an opportunity to create real change in how social media platforms operate. What do you three think? I think you should definitely go, Maya said decisively. Your expertise in technology combined with your perspective as a parent would be valuable. I agree, Nia added with passion in her voice. Someone needs to stand up to these companies and influencers. Zara hesitated before speaking. I think we should go too. Alexander raised his eyebrows. You want to testify before Congress? We're the ones it happened to, Zara continued, her voice growing stronger. Adults always talk about what kids need, but they don't actually ask us. Zara's right, Nia said, leaning forward. Our perspective matters most in this situation. Maya nodded. The statistical impact of testimony from actual minors affected by these issues would be significantly more powerful. Alexander looked at his daughters with a mixture of pride and concern. Testifying means being in the public eye even more. Are you sure you're ready for that? I'm not scared, Nia declared. I'm a little scared, Zara admitted, but I still want to do it. I believe the potential benefit outweighs the temporary discomfort, Maya added in her analytical way. Alexander smiled softly. I'm proud of all of you. Let me think about it overnight and I'll call Senator Martinez in the morning. 5 days after the airport incident, life was trying to return to normal, but the ripple effects continued. Alexander's morning began with a video call with Dr. Rachel Williams, the family therapist who had helped them navigate life after Jennifer's death 7 years ago. It's good to see all of you, Dr. Williams said once everyone was settled in Alexander's home office. How are you processing what happened at the airport? I've been researching privacy laws, Maya said immediately. There are major gaps in protection for minors online. Dr. Williams nodded. That's a very Maya way to process things. How about emotionally? Maya shrugged. I'm fine. I didn't take it personally. I'm angry, Nia stated firmly. Not just for us, but for everyone who gets targeted by people like Madison Blake. Nobody holds these influencers accountable. And Zara? Dr. Williams asked gently. How are you feeling? Zara looked down at her hands. It hurt. Being talked about like I wasn't even a person, like I was just content. Her voice grew quiet. I keep thinking about all the people who laughed at us. Alexander reached over to squeeze her hand. Those feelings are completely valid, Dr. Williams assured her. Alexander, how about you? I'm focused on solutions, he replied. We've been invited to testify before Congress about online protections for minors. Dr. Williams raised her eyebrows. That's significant. How do the girls feel about that? We want to testify too, Nia said confidently. I see. That's a big step, Dr. Williams said. Let's talk about how to prepare emotionally for that kind of public appearance. After the therapy session, Alexander drove the girls to school. It was their first day back since the incident, and tension filled the car. Remember, you don't have to answer any questions you don't want to, Alexander told them as they approached the school entrance. Principal Winters said she's spoken to all the teachers about managing any disruptions. "We'll be fine, Dad," Maya assured him. "Call me if you need anything," Alexander said. "Anything at all." "We will," Zara promised. As the girls walked toward the building, Alexander noticed other students watching them and whispering. He sighed and headed to Sterling Technologies headquarters. At his office, Alexander's assistant had already arranged an emergency meeting with the product development team. 20 engineers and designers waited in the conference room when he arrived. "Good morning," Alexander began. "I'm sure you've all seen the news about what happened to my daughters." Nods circled the room. "That incident made something very clear to me," Alexander continued. "We need better tools to protect young people online. I want to accelerate development of the minor protection features we discussed last quarter." David Chen, the head of product development, spoke up. "We already have some promising prototypes. The consent detection algorithm could be ready for testing in a month." "I want it in 2 weeks," Alexander said firmly. "This is now our top priority." After the meeting, Alexander returned to his office to find a message waiting from Timothy Walsh, the security officer from O'Hare. "Mr. Sterling," the message read, "I wanted to let you know I've been promoted to head of security training after the incident. I'm developing new protocols for handling social media situations in public spaces. Would love your input if you have time." Alexander smiled and sent a quick reply, offering to schedule a video call. His phone rang as he was answering emails. It was Rebecca Chen. "Mr. Sterling, my first article in the series just published," she said when he answered. "I wanted you to see it before it starts circulating widely." Alexander pulled up the Washington Post website on his computer. The headline read, "The Dark Side of Influence: How Social Media Stars Target the Vulnerable." "It's comprehensive," Alexander commented as he skimmed the article. "You found other cases similar to ours?" 17 documented incidents in the past year alone, Rebecca replied. "And those are just the ones with video evidence. Madison Blake was following an unfortunately common playbook." "Have you spoken with Madison since that night?" Alexander asked. "No," Rebecca said. "She's gone completely silent since her apology post. But her former manager Brian Porter has been very vocal, claiming he never encouraged her behavior." "Despite evidence to the contrary, I'm sure," Alexander said dryly. "Exactly. I have sources saying he specifically told her to target easy victims who wouldn't fight back." After finishing the call, Alexander checked the time. It was nearly 3 o'clock. School would be ending soon. He decided to pick up his daughters himself rather than sending a driver. When he arrived at the school, he found Zara sitting alone on a bench, her eyes red from crying. Maya and Nia were nowhere to be seen. "Sweetheart, what happened?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Some girls wanted to take selfies with me," Zara said, wiping her eyes. "Like I'm some kind of celebrity now. When I said no, they called me stuck-up." Alexander put his arm around her shoulders. "I'm sorry, Zara. Why do people think they have the right to record anyone they want?" she asked, her voice breaking. "It's like we're not even people to them." Alexander thought carefully before answering. "Some people have forgotten that there are real human beings on the other side of the camera. They see content, not people. That's how Madison looked at us," Zara said quietly, "like we weren't real." "I know," Alexander replied, "and it hurt you the most because you feel things deeply." "That's not a weakness, Zara. It's a gift to be able to feel so deeply, even though it's painful sometimes." Zara leaned against her father. "Mom would have known exactly what to say to make me feel better." Alexander felt the familiar ache at the mention of Jennifer. "Your mother was much better with words than I am, but she'd be so proud of how you're handling this." "Really?" "Absolutely. All 3 of you are showing such courage," Alexander assured her. "Where are your sisters, by the way?" "They started a discussion group about social media responsibility," Zara explained. "Half the school signed up. They're in the library now." Alexander smiled. "Of course they are." That evening, after the girls went to bed, Alexander sat in his home office with a notepad. At the top, he had written, Digital Dignity Foundation. Below it, he listed goals, potential programs, and funding requirements. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. He had received the same message each day since the incident. "Mr. Sterling, please. Just 5 minutes. I need to make this right." Madison Blake. For the first time, Alexander didn't immediately dismiss the message. Instead, he considered the possibility that the young woman might have something valuable to contribute to the conversation about influencer culture and accountability. His finger hovered over the reply button when another text came through, this one from Senator Martinez. "Alexander, I've been informed that Madison Blake's former manager has hired a high-powered lobbying firm to fight any potential regulation of influencer content. We need your testimony more than ever." Alexander stared at Senator Martinez's text, his thumb still hovering over Madison's message. The lobbying firm news changed things. If Brian Porter was actively fighting against regulations, perhaps Madison's perspective could be valuable. After a moment of consideration, Alexander finally replied to Madison, "Ms. Blake, I'll hear what you have to say. My legal team will arrange a video call tomorrow at 10 in the morning." He then called Susan Chen, head of Sterling Technologies' legal department. "Susan, I need you to sit in on a video call with Madison Blake tomorrow," Alexander explained when she answered. "The influencer from the airport?" Susan sounded surprised. "May I ask why you're speaking with her?" "She's been asking to apologize. I ignored her until now, but with Senator Martinez's hearings approaching, her perspective might be useful." The next morning, Alexander sat in his home office with Susan on one screen and an empty window waiting for Madison to join. When Madison's face appeared, Alexander was taken aback by her appearance. The perfectly polished influencer was gone. Instead, Madison looked exhausted. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, she wore no makeup, and her eyes were red and puffy. "Thank you for agreeing to speak with me, Mr. Sterling," Madison said quietly. "This is Susan Chen, my head legal counsel," Alexander replied. "She'll be observing our conversation." Madison nodded. "I understand." She took a deep breath. "First, I want to apologize for what I did to your daughters. It was wrong, cruel, and inexcusable." "Why did you do it?" Alexander asked directly. Madison looked down. "I've been asking myself that question every day. The truth is, I got caught up in a system where cruelty gets rewards. My most mean-spirited videos always got the most views, comments, and sponsor attention." "That doesn't excuse targeting children," Susan pointed out. "No, it doesn't," Madison agreed immediately. "Nothing excuses that. I've started therapy to understand why I became someone who would do something so horrible." She wiped away a tear. "The person in that airport video isn't who I want to be." Alexander studied her face. "What do you want from this conversation, Miss Blake?" "Nothing," Madison replied. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know my apology is sincere. Also," she hesitated, "I've been seeing headlines about Senate hearings on social media regulations." "What about them?" Alexander asked. "Brian Porter and other managers like him are the ones who push creators to make harmful content. They understand the algorithms better than anyone, and they know exactly what kind of content brings the most engagement." Madison's voice grew stronger. "If you're going to testify, people should know that influencers are often following instructions from their management." After the call ended, Alexander sat quietly for a moment. "What do you think?" he asked Susan. "She seemed genuine," Susan admitted, "but she's also a performer by profession. Hard to know for sure." "My thoughts exactly," Alexander replied. That afternoon, Alexander gathered his daughters in the living room to discuss the Senate testimony. "Senator Martinez confirmed our invitation to testify," he began. "All 4 of us, if you're still interested." "Definitely," Nia said without hesitation. "I've been preparing my statement already," Maya added. "I'm nervous but still want to do it," Zara said. Alexander nodded. I spoke with Madison Blake this morning. 3 pairs of eyes widened in surprise. What did she want? Nia asked suspiciously. To apologize, Alexander replied. She also shared some information about how influencer managers encourage harmful content. Do you believe her? Maya asked. I'm not sure, Alexander admitted, but her input might be valuable for the hearings. She seemed to really enjoy mocking us, Zara said quietly. It's hard to imagine she's truly sorry. People can change when they face consequences, Alexander said, but you're right to be skeptical. The next day, Sterling Technologies' public relations team arrived at the house to help prepare for the Senate testimony. Grace Williams, the head of government relations, led the session. The key is to speak clearly and stay on message, Grace explained as they sat in the living room. Senator Martinez is on our side, but Senator Thompson from Wyoming will likely be hostile. He receives significant campaign donations from technology platforms. What kind of questions will they ask? Zara wondered. For you 3, they'll want to hear about your experience, Grace said gently. How it felt to be recorded without consent. The impact of online harassment. And for me? Alexander asked. They'll challenge you on implementation costs, potential impacts on free speech, and technical feasibility of protection measures. The family worked with Grace for 3 hours, practicing answers and preparing for difficult questions. When they finished, Alexander had another session scheduled with Dr. Williams to help the girls prepare emotionally. The hearing will be stressful, Dr. Williams explained during their video call. Cameras will be there, people will be watching. It's normal to feel nervous. I'm worried I'll cry, Zara admitted. It's completely okay if you do, Dr. Williams reassured her. Showing emotion isn't a weakness. I'm concerned about saying the wrong thing, Maya said. What if I make a mistake that hurts our case? Speak from your experience, Dr. Williams advised. That's something no one can question. I'm not nervous at all, Nia declared. I'm ready to tell those senators exactly what needs to change. Dr. Williams smiled. Just remember to breathe, Nia. Your passion is powerful, but speaking slowly and clearly will help your message reach more people. Later that day, Alexander received a call from David Chen, his head of product development. We have a prototype ready for testing, David said excitedly. The consent detection app works in our initial trials. Already? Alexander was impressed. How does it function? It uses facial recognition to detect minors being filmed in public spaces, David explained. Then it sends an alert to parents or guardians through connected devices. We're also developing a feature that automatically blurs minors' faces in live streams unless explicit permission is given. Bring it to my office tomorrow, Alexander said. I want to see it in action. That evening during dinner, the triplets shared news about their social media discussion group at school. We had 57 students attend today, Maya reported. Principal Winters said we can make it an official school club. We're writing a social media code of conduct for students, Nia added proudly. And we're creating posters about consent for filming others, Zara said. The art teacher is helping me design them. Alexander smiled at his daughters. I'm so proud of how you're turning this experience into something positive. His phone rang. It was Rebecca Chen again. Mr. Sterling, my second article is publishing tomorrow, she said when he answered. I wanted to give you a heads up that it mentions the upcoming Senate hearing. Thank you for letting me know, Alexander replied. Have you found more cases like ours? Dozens, Rebecca confirmed. And I've interviewed 3 other families who experienced similar situations with different influencers. They're all supportive of the regulations your testimony might help create. Would you be willing to share your research with Senator Martinez's office? Alexander asked. It could strengthen the case for new protections. Absolutely, Rebecca agreed. I'll send everything I have. After dinner, Alexander retreated to his home office to finalize plans for the Digital Dignity Initiative. His assistant had prepared documents for the $50 million funding announcement. His phone buzzed with a message from Timothy Walsh. Just saw the news about your Senate testimony. Rooting for you and your daughters." Alexander smiled and replied, "Thank you, Timothy. Actually, I'd like to discuss something with you. Would you be interested in consulting on the security aspects of our new Digital Dignity initiative?" The response came quickly, "It would be an honor, sir." Just as Alexander was about to call it a night, an email arrived from Michael Davis, the Social Stream CEO. "Alex, I've been following the news about the upcoming Senate hearing. I want you to know that Social Stream is developing new protection tools as well. We'd like to coordinate efforts with Sterling Technologies rather than compete on this issue. Children's safety should be a collaborative effort across the industry." Alexander forwarded the email to his team with a note. "This is exactly the kind of industry cooperation we need. Set up a meeting with Michael's team as soon as possible." The next morning, Sterling Technologies issued a press release announcing the Digital Dignity Initiative, a $50 million program to develop tools protecting minors online. The stock market responded immediately, with company shares rising 6% in early trading. Alexander's phone rang as he read the market reports. It was Senator Martinez. "I just saw your company's announcement," she said. "The timing couldn't be better." The committee is facing intense pressure from lobbying groups to cancel or delay the hearings. "Brian Porter's work?" Alexander asked. "His and others," Senator Martinez confirmed. "They're arguing that regulations would stifle innovation and free speech. Your initiative shows that protection and innovation can go hand in hand." "We're committed to finding solutions," Alexander assured her. "My daughters and I will be ready to testify." "Excellent. One more thing," Senator Martinez added. "We've received a request from Madison Blake to testify as well." Alexander paused. What does she want to say? She claims to have insider information about how management companies push creators toward exploitative content, the senator explained. "Would her testimony complicate things for your daughters?" Alexander thought about the question carefully. It might actually strengthen the case for regulation if she acknowledges her wrongdoing and explains the industry pressures. "That's my thinking as well," Senator Martinez agreed. "I'll add her to the witness list after your family's testimony." After ending the call, Alexander found Zara in the garden, sketching in her notebook. "What are you drawing?" he asked, sitting beside her. Zara showed him a series of sketches depicting hands reaching through phone screens. "It's about how social media connects us, but also makes us vulnerable." "That's powerful, Zara," Alexander said softly. "You've always been able to express through art what others can't say with words." "Dad?" Zara looked up at him. "Is Madison really going to testify at the hearing too?" "Senator Martinez just told me she requested to speak," Alexander replied honestly. "How do you feel about that?" Zara thought for a moment. "I think I want to hear what she has to say." "If she's really sorry, and if her testimony helps protect other kids, then maybe something good can come from what happened to us." Alexander put his arm around his daughter's shoulders, amazed once again by her capacity for compassion. "You remind me so much of your mother sometimes," he said softly. Zara smiled at her father's words about her mother. They sat together for a few more minutes, enjoying the peaceful garden. Their moment of quiet was interrupted when Maya rushed outside holding her tablet. "Dad! Zara, you need to see this," she said, her voice urgent. "Someone leaked emails between Madison and her manager." Alexander took the tablet. On the screen was an article from a tech blog with the headline, "Exposed: How Influencer Managers Push for Harmful Content." The article showed screenshots of emails between Madison Blake and Brian Porter. In one message, Porter wrote, "Your last 5 videos got decent views but nothing special. We need controversy. Find easy targets who won't fight back. Homeless people, sleeping passengers, lost tourists. Anyone who looks different or vulnerable will get reactions. Reactions equals money." Madison had replied, "Isn't that crossing a line? I don't want to hurt people." Porter's response, You want to keep your sponsors, right? Beauty Bliss expects 2 million views per video. Stop overthinking and start filming. This business isn't about being nice. This changes things, Alexander said quietly. He immediately called Susan Chen from legal. Susan, have you seen the leaked Porter emails? Just reviewing them now, Susan replied. They appear authentic based on metadata. Porter was explicitly directing Madison to target vulnerable people. This adds another dimension to the Senate hearing, Alexander noted. After ending the call, Alexander explained the situation to his daughters. These emails show Madison was being directed by her manager to create harmful content. That doesn't excuse what she did, Nia said firmly. No, it doesn't, Alexander agreed, but it reveals a larger system problem. The management companies are incentivizing cruelty, Maya observed. It's a systemic issue, not just individual bad actors. Zara looked thoughtful. She still chose to listen to him, but I understand the pressure better now. Alexander's phone rang. Senator Martinez again. Alexander, I assume you've seen the leaked emails, she said when he answered. This changes our hearing approach. We need to address the role of management companies in promoting harmful content. I agree completely, Alexander replied. We're adding Brian Porter to our witness list, Senator Martinez continued, though I doubt he'll appear voluntarily. We may need to subpoena him. After 3 busy days of preparation, the Sterling family was ready to travel to Washington, D.C. They boarded Alexander's private jet early Monday morning, 3 days before the scheduled hearing. Have you ever been to Washington before? Alexander asked the girls as the plane took off. We went on a school trip in 5th grade, Maya reminded him. But we just saw monuments, Nia added. We've never been to Congress before. Are we going to see the president? Zara asked. Alexander smiled. No, we'll be at the Senate office buildings, not the White House. But many important decisions happen there. During the flight, the girls reviewed their prepared statements with Grace Williams from the PR team. Maya, your statistics about online harassment are powerful, Grace noted. Nia, your passion comes through clearly. And Zara, your personal story will make a strong impact. When they landed, a car was waiting to take them to the Jefferson Hotel. The historic luxury hotel was known for its privacy and discretion, making it popular with high-profile visitors to the capital. We have the entire top floor, Alexander told his daughters as they checked in. Security has been arranged. Is that really necessary? Maya asked. Unfortunately, yes, Alexander replied. This hearing is getting significant media attention. The family settled into their suite, which had separate bedrooms for everyone and a large common area. The hotel had prepared the space with extra security features at Alexander's request. That evening, Rebecca Chen called Alexander. My new article just published, she said. It details how 7 different management companies have similar policies to Brian Porter's, pushing creators toward exploitative content. Have you seen any response from Porter about the leaked emails? Alexander asked. He issued a statement claiming the emails were taken out of context, Rebecca replied. But 3 other influencers have come forward with similar stories about him. Send me their information, Alexander said. They might want to contribute to the hearing. The next morning, specialized coaching sessions began for the family. A former congressional aide named Daniel Matthews had been hired to prepare them for the hearing environment. The committee room will be intimidating, Daniel explained. Cameras, reporters, staffers, and of course the senators themselves. How many senators will be there? Maya asked. 11 committee members, though some may come and go during testimony, Daniel replied. Senator Martinez is the chairperson, so she'll control the flow. What about Senator Thompson? Alexander asked. I understand he's likely to be hostile. Daniel nodded. Thompson will try to minimize the issue and focus on economic impacts of regulation. He's received over $2 million in campaign contributions from tech platforms. The coaching sessions continued throughout the day, with Daniel playing the role of various senators asking tough questions. So, young lady, Don't you think parents should be responsible for monitoring their children's social media, not the government? Daniel asked Nia in his role as Senator Thompson. Nia took a deep breath before answering. Parents absolutely have responsibility, sir. But when adults deliberately target children for content without consent, parents can't prevent that. We need basic protections, just like we have seatbelt laws and age restrictions on tobacco. Excellent answer, Daniel approved. Direct, clear, and uses a comparison everyone understands. That afternoon, Alexander received another call from Senator Martinez. "We have a situation," she began. "Brian Porter is in Washington with a team of lawyers. He's demanding to see Madison before the hearing." "Has he contacted her directly?" Alexander asked, concerned. "He's tried, but she's blocking his calls," Senator Martinez replied. "My staff is making sure he can't access the hotel where she's staying." "Good," Alexander said. "Based on those emails, I'm concerned about his influence on her." "Me too," Senator Martinez agreed. "Also, Porter has hired the lobbying firm BlackRock Partners. They're pressuring committee members to limit the scope of the hearing." "I'm not surprised," Alexander said grimly. "My company has dealt with BlackRock before. They're aggressive." That evening, 2 more former clients of Brian Porter went public with their stories. A 19-year-old travel influencer named Tyler James shared screenshots of texts where Porter instructed him to find and mock foreign tourists who can't speak English for content. "The pressure was intense," Tyler told a CNN interviewer. "When I refused to mock people, he threatened to drop me and told sponsors I was difficult to work with. I was 18 and didn't know better." The Sterling family watched the interview from their hotel suite. "His story sounds similar to what Madison described," Maya observed. "It's confirming a pattern," Alexander agreed. "I still don't trust Madison completely," Nia said, "but I believe this industry problem is real." The next day, the family had their final preparation sessions. Alexander practiced his technical presentation showing how Sterling Technologies' new protection tools worked. The triplets rehearsed their statements until they felt comfortable. That evening, Senator Martinez joined them for dinner in a private room at the hotel restaurant. "You all seem well prepared," she said after listening to shortened versions of their testimonies. "We've been practicing," Maya confirmed. "What happens after the hearing?" Alexander asked, "What's the path to actual regulation?" "If we make a strong case, I'll introduce the Digital Dignity Act next month," Senator Martinez explained. "It would establish basic protections for minors online, require consent for filming in public spaces, and create oversight for management companies." "Will it pass?" Zara asked quietly. Senator Martinez smiled at her. "That depends partly on how powerful your testimony is tomorrow. Personal stories change minds more effectively than policy arguments." As dinner concluded, Alexander received a text from Madison Blake. "Mr. Sterling, I just wanted you to know that Brian tried to contact me. He offered money if I would change my testimony to protect him. I refused. I'm telling the whole truth tomorrow." Alexander showed the message to Senator Martinez. "We should inform security," the senator said immediately. "Porter sounds desperate." Back in the suite, Alexander helped his daughters prepare for bed. The hearing was scheduled for 9 in the morning, and they needed rest. "Are you nervous?" he asked as they gathered in the common area one last time. "A little," Maya admitted, "but I'm ready." "I'm excited," Nia declared. "I want those senators to hear exactly why this matters." "I'm scared," Zara said honestly. "But I keep thinking about other kids who might go through what we did." "If our testimony helps protect them, it's worth being scared." Alexander hugged each of them. "I'm so proud of all of you. No matter what happens tomorrow, remember that you're standing up for what's right." As the girls went to their rooms, Alexander's phone buzzed with a news alert. "Breaking. Document shows influencer management companies' coordinated strategies to target vulnerable groups for viral content." Alexander quickly scanned the article. A leaked industry email thread showed 7 major management companies, including Brian Porter's, sharing tactics for creating controversial content that would generate high engagement. "Find people who can't fight back," one manager had written. "Sleeping people, confused elderly, non-English speakers, kids without parents nearby. Record reactions, add mocking commentary. Engagement guaranteed." Another had replied, "Works every time. My client got 6 million views mocking homeless veterans last week. 3 new sponsors called the next day." Alexander forwarded the article to Senator Martinez with a message. Tomorrow's hearing just became even more important. As he prepared for bed, hotel security called to inform him that Brian Porter had been spotted in the hotel lobby, attempting to get information about Madison Blake's room number. "We've removed him from the premises," the security director said. "We've also added extra staff to monitor all entrances tonight." "Thank you," Alexander replied. "Please keep me informed of any other incidents." He checked on his daughters one more time before turning in. All 3 were sleeping peacefully, unaware of the growing storm around tomorrow's hearing. Alexander set out his suit for the morning and reviewed his notes one last time. Tomorrow would be a turning point, not just for his family, but potentially for millions of children across the country. Morning sunlight streamed through the hotel windows as Alexander woke at 6 o'clock. He checked his phone immediately. 3 news alerts and a message from hotel security confirming no further incidents overnight. Brian Porter had not returned after being removed from the lobby. Alexander showered and dressed in his dark gray suit, then called room service for breakfast. By 7 o'clock, the triplets were awake and preparing for the biggest day of their young lives. "How are you feeling?" Alexander asked as the girls ate breakfast in the suite's dining area. "My stomach hurts," Zara admitted, pushing her toast around her plate. "That's normal," Alexander assured her. "Just remember to breathe slowly when you're speaking." "I reviewed my testimony again this morning," Maya said, tablet in hand. "I added 2 more statistics about privacy violations." Nia adjusted her bright yellow headband, her debate team lucky charm. "I'm ready. Those senators need to hear what really happens to kids online." At 8:15, the hotel security team escorted them through the service elevator to avoid the reporters gathered in the lobby. 2 black SUVs waited in the loading area. "The press is already at the Capitol," their driver explained as they pulled away from the hotel. News vans lined up before dawn. Alexander looked at his daughters in their matching navy blue dresses. "Remember, you don't have to answer any question that makes you uncomfortable. Senator Martinez will protect you if Thompson gets aggressive." "We know, Dad," Maya said calmly. "We're ready." The cars approached the Capitol complex from a side street, avoiding the main entrance where dozens of reporters and camera crews had gathered. Capitol Police escorted them through a security entrance and down long marble hallways to a private waiting room. Grace from Sterling Technologies' PR team was already there, along with Susan from legal. "The room is completely full," Grace reported. "Every seat taken, standing room only in the back. All major networks are broadcasting live." "Madison Blake arrived 10 minutes ago," Susan added. "She's in a separate waiting room." Alexander nodded, then knelt down to be eye-level with his daughters. "I am so proud of you 3. No matter what happens in that hearing room, remember that you're doing something important." At precisely 9 o'clock, a staff member appeared at the door. "The committee is ready for you now." The hearing room was larger than Alexander had expected. 11 senators sat on a raised platform at the front. Camera operators lined the back wall. Every seat in the audience section was filled with reporters, industry representatives, and concerned parents. Senator Eleanor Martinez, a woman in her early 60s with silver-streaked black hair, gavelled the session to order. "This hearing of the Senate Committee on Technology Ethics will now come to order," she announced. "Today we examine the growing problem of social media exploitation, particularly concerning minors." She looked directly at the Sterling family seated at the witness table. Our first witnesses are Alexander Sterling, CEO of Sterling Technologies, and his daughters Maya, Nia, and Zara Sterling, who recently experienced firsthand the harmful practices we're investigating. Alexander leaned toward the microphone. Thank you, Senator Martinez and committee members. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak about this important issue. He presented first, explaining the airport incident briefly before moving to the larger problem. This isn't just about one bad influencer, Alexander stated clearly. Our research shows a systematic problem of minors being targeted for content without consent. He demonstrated the prototype protection app developed by Sterling Technologies. This technology can detect when minors are being filmed without permission and automatically alert parents or guardians. When Alexander finished, Senator Martinez turned to the triplets. Now, we'd like to hear from the young women who experienced this firsthand. Maya spoke first, her voice steady and clear. Honorable Senators, I've researched 73 similar cases from the past year alone. In 68% of these incidents, the victims were minors. In 92%, no consent was requested before filming. She presented her research professionally, explaining how current laws fail to protect children in public spaces. Nia spoke next, her passion evident in every word. Imagine waking up to find a stranger filming you, mocking you, and broadcasting your face to millions of people without your permission. Then imagine those millions of people laughing at you, suggesting ways to harass you further. Her voice grew stronger. No child should experience that. We need clear rules about filming minors without consent and real consequences for those who break those rules. When Zara's turn came, she looked nervous. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the microphone. I was asleep when Madison Blake started filming us, she began softly. When I woke up and saw her camera pointed at me, I felt... She paused, gathering courage. I felt like I wasn't a person to her, just something to use for views. The room was completely silent as Zara continued. It hurt to know thousands of people were watching and laughing. It hurt to hear her suggest pouring water on us for entertainment. It hurt to realize that if my father wasn't Alexander Sterling, there would have been no consequences for her actions. Tears filled her eyes, but she finished strongly. No child should feel like they're just content instead of a human being. Please help protect kids like us. Several senators were visibly moved by Zara's testimony. Even the typically stern Senator Thompson shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Senator Martinez thanked the Sterling family, then called Madison Blake to the witness table. Madison looked entirely different from her influencer persona. Her hair was pulled back simply, and she wore a conservative navy suit. Her hands shook as she adjusted her microphone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, Madison began. First, I want to publicly apologize to Maya, Nia, and Zara Sterling. My actions at Chicago O'Hare Airport were inexcusable. She took a deep breath. I also want to explain the industry pressures that contributed to my behavior, though they don't excuse it. Madison described how her management company pushed her toward increasingly controversial content. She displayed emails and text messages from Brian Porter directing her to target easy victims for higher engagement. Success in social media is measured in views, likes, and comments, Madison explained. Management companies understand that controversy and cruelty drive engagement. They explicitly direct creators to target vulnerable people. Senator Thompson, a stern-looking man in his 60s, interrupted. Miss Blake, aren't you simply shifting blame to avoid personal responsibility? You chose to film those children. Yes, I did, Madison admitted immediately. I made that choice and I'm responsible for it. I'm not here to escape blame, but to explain how the industry encourages this behavior systematically. Senator Thompson pressed further. This seems like an isolated incident being blown out of proportion. Should we really create new regulations because of one bad actor? Before Madison could respond, Senator Martinez intervened. I'll remind the committee that we have documented evidence of 73 similar cases, as Ms. Sterling testified. Nia raised her hand unexpectedly. Senator, may I respond to that point? Senator Martinez looked surprised but nodded. Go ahead, Ms. Sterling. Senator Thompson, Nia began confidently, this is not about one incident or one bad actor. The leaked emails prove that management companies are actively directing influencers to target vulnerable people, including children. When entire business models rely on exploitation, individual responsibility isn't enough. Systems need to change. Murmurs of approval spread through the audience. Thompson looked taken aback by the 14-year-old's articulate response. As Madison continued her testimony, Alexander noticed movement at the back of the hearing room. Brian Porter had slipped in and was standing against the wall, arms crossed, watching Madison intently. Madison saw him too. Mid-sentence, she faltered, her face going pale. For a moment, she seemed unable to continue. Senator Martinez leaned forward. Miss Blake, are you all right? Madison took a deep breath, her eyes still on Porter. Then, surprisingly, her posture straightened and her voice grew stronger. Yes, Senator, I'm fine. She pointed toward the back of the room. And now that my former manager Brian Porter is here, I can be completely transparent about his role in this situation. The entire room turned to look at Porter, who appeared shocked to be identified. Brian Porter explicitly instructed me to target people who appeared vulnerable or unable to protest, Madison continued, her voice gaining confidence. He said, and I quote, find easy targets who won't fight back. Sleeping people, confused elderly, non-English speakers, kids without parents nearby. Porter started moving toward the exit, but 2 Capitol police officers had already moved to block his path. Mr. Porter told me that controversy equals money, Madison continued. He showed me metrics proving that videos mocking vulnerable people received 3 times more engagement than positive content. For the next 30 minutes, Madison detailed the exploitative practices of influencer management companies, with Brian Porter as a prime example. When she finished, Senator Martinez thanked her for her courage. This testimony has been extremely valuable, Senator Martinez said, addressing the entire room. It's clear we need action to protect vulnerable individuals, particularly minors, in digital spaces. She looked directly at the Sterling family. Based on what we've heard today, I will be introducing the Digital Dignity Act next month. This legislation will establish clear protections for minors online, require consent for filming in public spaces, and create oversight for influencer management companies. As the hearing concluded, reporters rushed toward the exits to file their stories. Capitol Police escorted Brian Porter to a side room for questioning based on the evidence presented. Alexander gathered his daughters, all 3 looking emotionally drained but relieved. You were all incredible, he told them quietly, especially you, Zara. Your testimony touched everyone in that room. Zara managed a small smile. I was so scared, but I kept thinking about other kids who might go through the same thing. As they prepared to leave the hearing room, Alexander noticed Madison standing alone, looking uncertain. Their eyes met briefly across the crowded room. Madison gave a small, respectful nod before being whisked away by her lawyer. Senator Martinez approached the Sterling family. Thank you all for your courage today. Your testimony will make a real difference. As they walked toward the exit, reporters called out questions from behind the security line. Mr. Sterling, what's next for the Digital Dignity Initiative? Girls, how does it feel to change national policy at 14? Alexander guided his daughters toward their waiting car. Behind them, the packed hearing room emptied as staffers collected documents and turned off microphones. The first step toward real change had been taken. The crowd of reporters continued shouting questions as the Sterling family made their way to the waiting SUVs. Capitol police officers formed a protective corridor, keeping the press at a distance. Mr. Sterling, will you be working directly with Congress on the Digital Dignity Act? Girls, How does it feel to make history?" Alexander ushered his daughters into the first vehicle, then turned briefly to the press. "No questions today. Thank you for your interest." As their driver pulled away from the Capitol, Maya, Nia, and Zara slumped back against the seats, the tension finally leaving their bodies. "You were amazing," Alexander told them, his voice filled with pride. "All three of you." "Did you see Senator Thompson's face when Nia answered his question?" Maya said, smiling weakly. "He looked so surprised." Nia grinned. "He thought he could dismiss us as just kids." "Big mistake." Zara remained quiet, staring out the window as Washington, D.C. passed by. Alexander gently took her hand. "You okay, sweetheart?" "I think so," Zara replied softly. It was harder than I expected talking about how it felt, but also good? Like maybe it helped someone. "It absolutely helped," Alexander assured her. "Your testimony was powerful." As they arrived back at the hotel, the manager met them at the private entrance. "Congratulations, Mr. Sterling. The hearing is all over the news already." In their suite, Grace from PR was waiting with updates. Every major network carried the hearing live. The response is overwhelming. #, Digital Dignity Act is trending nationwide. Alexander's phone had not stopped buzzing since they left the Capitol. "I have 17 missed calls from other tech CEOs, he noted, scrolling through notifications. "What are they saying?" Maya asked. "They want to join our initiative," Alexander said, reading messages. "Mark from TechFuture, Eliza from World Connect, Ravi from Datasphere. They're all offering support and resources." "Because they see which way the wind is blowing," Nia commented skeptically. "They don't want to be on the wrong side of regulation." "Possibly," Alexander acknowledged, "but I'll take meaningful action regardless of motivation." "What happened to Brian Porter?" Zara asked suddenly. Grace checked her tablet. "Capitol Police detained him for questioning after the hearing, and he's just been served with legal papers from both Madison Blake and Sterling Technologies." Outside the hotel, several news vans had gathered. On the television in their suite, clips from the hearing played on every channel. Zara's emotional testimony was featured prominently, along with Madison's revelations about Porter's instructions. "Senator Martinez's office just released a statement," Grace reported. "The Digital Dignity Act already has 6 Republican and 9 Democratic co-sponsors. That's practically unheard of for new legislation." Alexander ordered room service for lunch, knowing the girls needed time to decompress before their flight home. As they ate, Rebecca Chen called. "Madison Blake has agreed to an exclusive interview with me," Rebecca told Alexander. "She specifically asked me to tell you she plans to be completely honest about everything." "That's unexpected," Alexander replied. "I think the hearing changed something in her," Rebecca said. "Seeing Porter there, choosing to speak out despite his presence, it seemed to strengthen her resolve." Later that afternoon, the family boarded Alexander's private jet for the flight back to San Francisco. The girls were exhausted, Zara falling asleep almost immediately after takeoff. "When we get home, we're taking a few days off," Alexander told Maya and Nia. "You deserve a break from everything." "I have 10 interview requests already," Nia said, checking her email. "Everyone wants to talk to us." "You don't have to do any of them," Alexander assured her. "Your privacy comes first." Maya looked up from her tablet. "Dad, Sterling Technologies stock is up 23% today. The market is responding very positively to our initiative." Alexander nodded. The business world is finally recognizing that ethics and profit can go hand in hand. By the time they landed in San Francisco, videos of the hearing had been viewed over 50 million times across various platforms. Sterling Triplets and Digital Dignity were trending globally. Their driver took them directly home, where Mrs. Rodriguez had prepared a welcome home dinner. "I'm so proud of you girls," she said, hugging each of them. "The whole neighborhood is talking about your brave testimony." The next morning, Alexander called Timothy Walsh, the security officer from O'Hare who had witnessed the original incident. "Mr. Walsh, I wanted to personally invite you to join our Digital Dignity Foundation as head of security operations," Alexander said when Timothy answered. "Wow, Mr. Sterling," Timothy stammered. "That's an incredible offer." "You showed good judgment that night at the airport," Alexander continued. "We need people with your instincts for protection." "I would be honored," Timothy replied. "When do you need me to start? How does 2 weeks sound? We'll help with relocation to San Francisco." Later that day, Alexander formally announced the creation of the Digital Dignity Foundation with a $50 million donation. He appointed respected tech ethics expert Dr. Layla Johnson as director and introduced Timothy Walsh as head of security operations. When Monday arrived, it was time for the triplets to return to school. Alexander drove them himself, concerned about the attention they might receive. "Remember," he told them as they approached the building, "you can call me anytime if it gets overwhelming." Principal Winters met them at the entrance. "Welcome back, girls. We're all so proud of you. I've spoken to the teachers and student body about respecting your privacy." Despite these preparations, the triplets' return caused a stir. Students whispered and pointed as they walked the halls. Some approached with congratulations, others asked for selfies. Each girl handled the attention differently. Maya kept to her usual schedule, politely declining interviews from the school newspaper. During lunch, she started a research project on digital citizenship laws around the world. Nia embraced her new platform. By the end of the day, she had organized a student committee on online safety and scheduled her first speaking engagement at a nearby middle school. Zara found the attention most difficult. During art class, she retreated to a corner, working silently on a new series of paintings that expressed her feelings about privacy and vulnerability. At Sterling Technologies headquarters, Alexander met with his executive team. "The Digital Dignity Initiative is now our top priority," he told them. "We're accelerating development of all protection tools, and we'll make the basic technology available to other companies." His assistant interrupted with news. "Sir, you've been selected to receive the Technology Ethics Leadership Award from the National Digital Safety Council." That evening at home, Alexander found Zara in the garden, working on a sketch. "How was school?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Weird," Zara admitted. "Everyone kept staring at me. A girl in my math class asked me to sign her notebook." "That will fade with time," Alexander assured her. "Dad," Zara looked up from her drawing, "we've received 63 emails from other kids who went through similar experiences. They're thanking us for speaking up." Alexander nodded. "I've seen them. Susan is organizing responses." "I want to help answer them," Zara said with unexpected firmness. "I understand how they feel." "That's a wonderful idea," Alexander agreed, proud of her compassion. Inside, Maya and Nia were already planning their next steps. "I'm compiling all the research on privacy laws for teenagers," Maya explained, surrounded by notes. "There are huge gaps in protection." "I've been invited to speak at 5 schools already," Nia added enthusiastically. "Kids want to hear from other kids about this stuff." As the week progressed, the new normal began taking shape. Rebecca Chen's interview with Madison Blake was published, generating another wave of media attention. Madison spoke candidly about the pressures of influencer culture and the exploitative practices of management companies. "I take full responsibility for my actions," Madison told Rebecca, "but I also want people to understand the system that encourages this behavior. I've enrolled in college courses on digital ethics, and I'm committed to being part of the solution." On Friday afternoon, Alexander received a call from Senator Martinez. "The Digital Dignity Act has 27 co-sponsors now," she reported happily. "We're scheduling committee votes for next month. This is moving faster than any privacy legislation in history." "That's wonderful news," Alexander replied. "My team is preparing research to support the technical aspects of the bill." "Your daughter's testimony made all the difference," Senator Martinez said. Personal stories change minds in ways that technical arguments never could. After dinner that evening, the family gathered in the living room. It had been a week since the hearing, and they needed to discuss the future. "I've received requests for all of us to appear on national talk shows," Alexander told them. "But I wanted to check with you first. There's no obligation to do any of these." "I want to do them," Nia said immediately. "People need to hear our message." "I'll participate if it helps the legislation," Maya agreed. Zara was quieter, considering. "Will it help other kids like us?" she finally asked. "I believe it could," Alexander replied honestly. "Then I'll do it too," she decided. "But can we do them together?" "I don't want to be alone." "Absolutely," Alexander promised. "We do this as a family or not at all." As they continued talking, Alexander's phone chimed with a news alert. He checked the screen and smiled. "Brian Porter has been dropped by all his clients," he announced, "and the Influencer Management Association has announced new ethical guidelines for all member agencies." Maya nodded approvingly. "Systemic change beginning already." Nia raised her glass of water. "To the Digital Dignity Act." "To speaking up," Zara added softly. Alexander looked at his daughters with pride. "To making a difference." Outside their window, the sun set over San Francisco Bay, closing one chapter of their lives and beginning another. What had started as a terrible night at Chicago O'Hare Airport had transformed into a movement that would protect countless children for years to come. The family clinked their glasses together as the sun disappeared below the horizon. None of them could have predicted how much their lives would change in the coming months. 6 months later, Alexander stood in the East Room of the White House, watching as President Laura Wilson prepared to sign the Digital Dignity Act into law. Maya, Nia, and Zara, now 15 years old, stood beside him in coordinating blue dresses, looking poised and confident. Today marks a historic step forward in protecting young Americans online, President Wilson announced to the assembled crowd of legislators, advocates, and media. This bipartisan legislation establishes clear guidelines for digital consent, especially for minors. The president gestured toward the Sterling family. "I want to especially thank Alexander Sterling and his daughters, whose courage in sharing their experience sparked a national conversation that led directly to this moment." Alexander smiled proudly at his daughters. The past 6 months had transformed them in ways he never expected. After the president signed the bill with a flourish, she presented the first ceremonial pen to the triplets. "You three started this journey," President Wilson told them. "This belongs to you." "Thank you, Madam President," Nia replied confidently, accepting the pen on behalf of her sisters. At the reception afterward, Senator Martinez approached them. "We did it," she said, beaming. 38 co-sponsors in the Senate. Overwhelming support in the House. "I've never seen legislation move this quickly." "The timing was right," Alexander replied. "The public was ready for these protections." "Your testimony was the catalyst," Senator Martinez insisted. "Especially from the girls." On the flight back to San Francisco that evening, the family reflected on the whirlwind 6 months since the Senate hearing. "I still can't believe we were just at the White House," Zara said, looking at the commemorative photos on her phone. "You three earned it," Alexander told them. "Your advocacy made this happen." Maya scrolled through news coverage on her tablet. The Digital Dignity Foundation already has 2 million app downloads. The protection tools are working. The foundation had grown rapidly since its creation. From Alexander's initial $50 million donation, it had expanded to 30 employees working from a renovated building in downtown San Francisco. Their first major product, a free app that detected privacy violations and protected minors online, had become an essential download for parents and schools nationwide. Timothy Walsh had relocated from Chicago to lead the security division, bringing practical experience to the theoretical work of the tech developers. "Remember that anonymous teen platform we discovered launching without safety features?" Alexander asked. The one that wanted to let people post anonymously about classmates? Nia recalled. Alexander nodded. They completely redesigned their product after we raised concerns. They now have the strongest safety features in the industry. Because they knew we'd expose them if they didn't, Maya added with satisfaction. The next morning, Alexander and the triplets visited the Foundation's headquarters for their weekly meeting. The reception area displayed framed news coverage of their journey, from the original airport incident to the White House signing ceremony. Dr. Layla Johnson, the Foundation's director, greeted them warmly. Perfect timing! Madison Blake just arrived for her consulting session. Madison had undergone a remarkable transformation since the Senate hearing. She had completed her first semester of college with good grades in ethics and communications courses. Occasionally, she consulted with the Foundation, sharing insider knowledge about influencer marketing tactics. Good morning, Madison said as she entered the conference room. She looked entirely different from the polished influencer they had first encountered. Simpler, more authentic, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Thanks for coming in, Alexander replied professionally. Though the relationship remained cordial rather than friendly, both sides recognized the value in working together toward solutions. I've been reviewing the marketing materials for teenage users, Madison explained, setting down her notebook. I think we need stronger messaging about peer pressure to share content. The meeting continued productively, with Madison offering insights from her communications classes and past experience. How's school going? Zara asked Madison as the meeting concluded. Really well, Madison replied, seeming surprised by the personal question. I'm focusing on digital ethics. My professor actually uses your case study in class. That's still weird to think about, Zara said with a small smile. While Madison had found a path to redemption, Brian Porter had faced significant consequences. He and several other exploitative managers were fighting a class action lawsuit from former clients. Most had left the industry entirely. That afternoon, Alexander left work early, something he now did regularly, to attend an exhibition opening at the San Francisco Youth Arts Center. Zara's Digital Vulnerability series had been selected as the featured collection. Dad! You made it, Zara said happily when she spotted him entering the gallery. I wouldn't miss it, Alexander replied, hugging his daughter. These are incredible, Zara. The exhibition space displayed Zara's powerful paintings exploring themes of privacy, visibility, and human dignity. Art critics from local papers circulated through the crowd, taking notes and photographing the works. The youngest Sterling has found her voice through art, one critic told Alexander. These pieces show remarkable emotional depth for a 15-year-old. Across town, Nia was delivering a presentation on online safety at a national education conference. Once terrified of public speaking, she had become a sought-after youth speaker, developing impressive communication skills through practice. When adults make rules about how teenagers should use technology, they often miss what really happens online, Nia told the audience of educators. That's why peer-to-peer education is so important. Meanwhile, Maya was meeting with a scientific journal editor who had accepted her research paper on digital citizenship, an extraordinary achievement for someone her age. Your methodology is impressively rigorous, the editor told her. We're publishing your paper in our June issue. That evening, the family gathered at home for a special dinner. It was exactly 6 months since the airport incident that had changed their lives. I ordered from Tony's, Alexander said, as he set containers of Italian food on the dining table. I thought we deserved to celebrate today. The White House ceremony or the 6-month anniversary of the airport disaster? Maya asked pragmatically. Both, I suppose, Alexander replied. It's remarkable how much has changed since that night at O'Hare. As they ate, each family member reflected on the past 6 months. I never expected to become a public speaker, Nia admitted. But now, I love it. Helping other kids understand their rights online feels important. My research is being used by lawmakers in 3 countries now, Maya said proudly. They're developing similar legislation based on the Digital Dignity Act. I still get nervous sometimes with all the attention, Zara confessed. But seeing how my art connects with people who've had similar experiences makes it worthwhile. Alexander looked at his daughters with pride. You've each found your own way to make an impact. That's more than most people accomplish in a lifetime. After dinner, they moved to the living room, where a framed family photo sat on the mantel. It showed Alexander with the triplets and their late mother Jennifer, taken shortly after the adoption was finalized. Mom would have handled the airport situation so perfectly, Nia said, looking at the photograph. She always knew exactly what to say. She would have been right beside us at the Senate hearing, Maya agreed. She would be so proud of you 3, Alexander said softly. She always said you would change the world someday. Zara touched the frame gently. Do you think she would like what we've done with the foundation? She would love it, Alexander assured her. Protecting children was always important to her. As the evening continued, the conversation shifted from the past to the future. The foundation is expanding to Europe next month, Alexander said. They've asked if we'd consider a trip to help launch the international office. We could visit Paris, Nia said excitedly. And the great museums, Zara added. The European Parliament has different privacy standards we should study, Maya noted practically. Alexander smiled at their enthusiasm. I'll take that as a yes. His phone chimed with an email alert. He checked the screen and his expression softened. What is it, Dad? Maya asked. An email from a teenager in rural Kansas, Alexander replied, reading the message. Your app just saved my life. Someone was using my photos to create fake accounts. Now I have proof and it's stopped. How can I help other kids like me? He looked up at his daughters. This is why we do what we do. Can we respond to her? Zara asked immediately. Together, Alexander said, passing his phone to her. Let's invite her to join our youth advisory board. As Zara began drafting a reply, with Maya and Nia looking over her shoulders and offering suggestions, Alexander watched his daughters with quiet pride. From an awful moment in an airport had come purpose, healing, and a chance to make a lasting difference. The Sterling family had always been extraordinary, but now they were using their unique talents and resources to ensure that no child would ever feel like just content again. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.